Okay, I've had a lot of people ask me, Curtis, what varieties of tomatoes do you grow? What do you recommend? Well, today I'm going to do exactly that. We're going to look at all the varieties I grow and what you can expect from them. That's coming up next on The Urban Farmer. Before we get into the specific varieties that I grow, I just want to do a little bit of reiteration of the way I grow, and I've covered this in previous videos before, but just to reiterate here. All the tomatoes I grow are in greenhouses, and I usually choose varieties that are better in greenhouses. I'm not suggesting that everybody grow in greenhouses. I do it because of my climate and because I always get these extreme rain events midsummer, which has wiped me out 2 times in the past, and I will not have that happen again. So this is why I grow in a greenhouse. Canadian North, you know, not as far as Canadian North, but North American North. So I like to get the season extension. I like the weather stability. That's the reason I grow in a greenhouse. Anybody further south or wherever you live, I don't know, but this is the way I do it. So we do hard pruning, meaning that we prune all the suckers and prune off all the bottom branches. So you can see some fruit sets here. We just picked these, and that's what I'm going to show you. Prune all the bottom branches after the sucker. We twist our tomatoes up a twine, and we prune off all these sucker branches, and we tie this. And I'm mentioning this now because it's been asked many times. We tie our tomato to a bamboo stake. So when the tomatoes first go in, we put a bamboo stake in the ground, and then the tomato just kind of leans against that. We don't even tie it to it at that point. And then once the tomato gets about 18 inches off the ground, we will bring our strings down, which are connected to either the ridge pole or a wire that's set in the greenhouse, and then it will be tied to the base of the bamboo stake, and then from there on the tomato is just twisted up the vine, so you can see that here. We put our tomatoes in 10-inch spacing, and they are 3 feet apart center to center. So in this 18-foot wide tunnel, I've got 5 rows with a decent amount of space to manage the rows. So now we'll look at varieties. Okay, so with our varieties, the first thing to note is that all of these are indeterminate varieties. That means that they are tomatoes that keep fruiting over a period of time, and they generally climb up the string, just like what I showed you there. So all of these are indeterminates. Many of them are also greenhouse specific varieties. And because of my market circumstances, the fact that I sell to a lot of restaurants and I sell to more niche market type customers, I want to grow a cherry tomato. I find I can make more money on cherry tomatoes. Again, I'm not saying that that's the only way to do it. I'm just saying that's the way I do it. I prefer cherry tomatoes because they fruit for longer. I find I get an overall higher yield, and I get a longer season. So I'm picking tomatoes from now, early May, all the way till October. And we do that because we use our greenhouse here to get our first set of tomatoes, which is now done, and then we go on to our second set, which is in the greenhouse I just showed you. And so we focus on cherries. So first let's look at the cherries. Okay, first tomato. This is actually my all-time favorite. It is a real winner. It's very productive. It is called Sweet Baby Girl. So it's a cherry. It's the size of a cherry. Very prolific tomato. Good producer. Maintains its flavor pretty much the whole season, and I like the size. It's a great size. It goes well in a mix of different varieties of cherries, which I'll show you. My second favorite is called Sakura. It's more of a plum-sized tomato. Some people call them cocktail tomatoes or saladettes. It's a little bit bigger than the Sweet Baby Girl. So here's a Sweet Baby and a Sakura up next to each other. I like Sakura because it is a crazy producer. It's the first tomato I pick, and it's always the last tomato I pick. It's really good because it's consistent with its flavor, which is like the Sweet Baby, but it also maintains the same level of thickness of its skin all the way up to the end of the season. And some of the other ones I show you don't, but you know, it's pros and cons of all of them. So Sakura is a huge winner, crazy productive. If I had to choose one tomato to grow it would probably be this one. If I could only grow one tomato, I'd probably just do this one because it slightly outperforms Sweet Baby Girl in its season, only slightly, and it's usually a bit earlier to start. But both those tomatoes are fantastic producers. Okay, that's some more Sweet Baby Girl. This one is, for taste, is my favorite, and it's the best winner for taste with our customers. Everybody likes this. This is called a Sun Gold. It's a classic cherry tomato variety. Absolutely the best flavor. It's also very early, but the con, so those are the pros of the Sun Gold. The con of the Sun Gold, its sort of losing factor, is that later in the season, so once you get into mid-September, the skin starts to get a bit tough. The tomato gets a bit smaller. It loses a little bit of its and it loses a bit of its sugar content. So it starts to kind of taper off near the end of the season and isn't as good. But in the early season, it's bang on. It's a total winner, and it's also very productive. Not, I wouldn't say quite as productive as these two, the Secure and Sweet Baby Girl, but it's close. It's a close second, but again, seasonality isn't the best early, but doesn't go that late very well. And so here's some mixed varieties that I do, and so these ones I just put in, I do like just a certain amount of these tomato plants, like the Sweet Baby and Secura, we have entire rows of those, same as the Sun Gold, but these ones, it's kind of like 12 plants of this, 10 plants of that. So let's look at some of these varieties. So this is a new variety from Johnny's. This one is called Pink Bumblebee. I really like the flavor. I really like the way it looks. The plant is fairly prolific. Again, not quite as prolific as those. And its seasonality is pretty good. It's early, but it's not quite as productive all the way to the end as the Sweet Baby and Secura. But it looks beautiful, and that's the main reason I chose it. This one here is very similar. It's called a Sunrise Bumblebee. This is also another Johnny's select variety. Pretty much same story as far as production goes with the Pink Bumblebee. Pretty similar. And then, let's move the camera here. This one here is called Black Cherry. So not quite as productive as the rest, and I think I only did maybe 5 to 10 of these plants, so not a lot, but just there to add color. It's entirely a texture thing. So these ones I'm going to group together, and then I'm going to show you this other one. This one is called Blush. This is also of that Johnny's variety. I like to have a somewhat oblong tomato in the mix, and it's fairly productive. Actually, it also is a pretty good producer too, all the way through the season. The biggest criticism I have of the Blush is that it's very soft skinned. So if you're gonna sell it, you pretty much gotta pick it the day you're gonna sell it. If you sit on them for a few days, they get too soft, and then they'll split in transit when you're delivering. So you gotta pick these ones fresh, but they're beautiful looking, and they've got a really nice sweet taste. So these are the 4 tomatoes that I'm doing that are sort of just there as a mix. Kind of like when I do my salad mixes. I've told you guys before how I'll have what's called auxiliary greens. So they're just grown to just be in a mix. Like, I don't really sell them on their own. So they'll go in a mixed baskets of cherry that we sell at the market, of cherry tomatoes that we sell at the market. So they're just there for color and a slightly different type of texture. Okay, now we're gonna look at the 2 big types of tomatoes I do, and I only do 2. I've done a lot in the past, but these ones have been a real staple for us because they're consistent in production. So the first one I want to talk about is called an oxheart. And some of you might say, hey Curtis, that's not what an oxheart looks like because they're supposed to be pointy at the bottom, and you're correct. But we've bred this tomato, or we've saved the seed for this tomato for 3 years, and I can't find it anywhere else. The story behind it is that I bought some oxheart seeds from a local supplier here that were supposed to be the traditional oxheart with the pointy bottom, but they weren't. They were this. And so I can't tell you exactly what this is. We just call it an oxheart because that's all I know it is. But it is an amazingly productive tomato. It's got the production, it's also got the versatility of use because it's a great slicer and it's an amazing sauce tomato. The skin comes off really easily. It also stores well. You can pick these on a Monday and sell them on a Friday, and very little people would tell the difference because they stay firm. They're really solid tomato. heavy producer, also a long season. They're fairly early too. Like we start picking these by about mid-June. So they're really productive. So unfortunately, I can't tell you where to get that seed because only I have it. Maybe somebody else does, I don't know. But we've been saving this one for 3 years now. So that's our favorite there. And then this one we use called Vintage Vine. It's very similar shape to that Oxheart. Beautiful taste. It's a really good slicer. Not so great for making sauce, but it's got a really nice texture, and it's a real heavy yielder. So that one is our next winner for the big tomatoes. So as you can see, I mostly grow cocktail tomatoes, cherry tomatoes, saladette tomatoes, whatever you want to call them, for the production. We've harvested. This is 240 pounds here. We've harvested in total almost 300 pounds of tomatoes this week. And so you guys have all seen my greenhouses before. I have the one greenhouse in the back here, which has 5 rows. Those are 48 feet long at 10-inch spacing. And then I have the 2 other greenhouses on our Lawrence Avenue plot that those are smaller greenhouses. They're 36 feet long with 3 rows each at 10-inch spacing. So most of the cherries are coming from here, some there. It's kind of a mix, but most of the cherries come from here. And so with just that much greenhouse space for tomatoes, we can produce up to 300 pounds a week for all the summer, and we get pretty solid production from the spring. One thing I should mention too is, and you guys, if you follow my vlog or my weekly update videos, you would have seen that this greenhouse was in production for our early tomatoes. So we had all these pots planted. I think we had about 80 plants in there, and so that was our early stuff. That started us in the season. That got us. We started picking in there for ourselves. We started picking there in April because those were started in January, and then that carried us over to tie over the season for our unheated greenhouses, our polytunnels. So that's essentially how we're doing tomato production from May until November, is with the use of 2 types of greenhouses. But our main season production, which is just the unheated tunnels like you've seen many times, those go from kind of mid-June until mid-October. So we still get a pretty solid season out of that. And that's mostly the cherries that are in production. Exclusively, it is the Sakura and Sweet Baby Girl that really carry the weight of everything. And the Sun Golds are a good starter, but not the best ones to finish the season off. So I hope that helps. If you guys have questions and comments, please leave them below. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more stuff like this. Please like and share these videos with your friends to get them out there. It gets more traffic to the channel, gets more people seeing this information, which is what I want to do. I want to help you guys learn how to farm better. Also, if you want to make a donation to the show, it's very much appreciated. It allows me to take the time to make these videos, upgrade my camera gear and audio gear and stuff like that. You can do that at theurbanfarmer.co/support. Okay, thanks for watching.